All right, let's go ahead and get started. Bobby Sampson, can you sit down, please? You noticed I didn't say anything about the young lady up front, the beautiful young lady up front. If I asked you to raise your hand, would you raise your hand that you're my wife? Where are you, Kim? Hey.
She was coached.
I guess it's easier to say that after you had such a wonderful meal and fellowship, right? Some of you guys are probably wondering about Ben, how he's doing. I just got a text. He said, okay, so there is no heart damage or heart attack, but they are keeping me to do a heart catheterization. The stress test showed possible indications of a blockage. Now he gets really spiritual. He said, so all is good. Jen is here with me. And I'm just going to watch the Steelers game and lay here and relax. So anyway, you know, I was worried for the first part of the text, but then I know he was just fine. He's watching the Steelers game. And so anyway, now he says, he just sent another text as I'm reading to you. Now to watch Pittsburgh dismantle the Cleveland Browns. Wow. I don't think he's too worried about his heart right now. I'm worried about his heart. So thank you, brother, for this morning. I just went to the back and prayed like I always do before every service. And I told the Lord that in my office, I asked the Lord, I'll just tell you what I told the Lord this morning. I said, Lord, within a week, I had to bury 2 of our sheep. And sometimes you don't necessarily think about what a toll that takes on the under shepherd. And I'm not here to whinge or anything. Because like I said to somebody yesterday, I was with the family here in front of the casket, and they were weeping and sobbing. And I started to, and I reminded myself, you got to wait till after all this is over with. And sometimes a pastor has to wait. And but it's still hard on us because you're our family, and I love you, and Ray loves you, and Ryan loves you, and so anyway, I needed to be fed this morning, and there were a couple of statements that you made in the sermon that God gave you to speak to me, and so I'm going to leave today. No matter what happens this afternoon, I know it's all going to be good stuff, but God fed me, and I know He fed you as well. Did He? Amen? All right, well, let's stand, let's open in a word of prayer, and then I'm going to give it to Brother Mitchell. So let's go to our Abba. Father, we do thank you so much for your goodness. And Lord, I do want to thank you for the good spiritual food that we had this morning. The pinpointed message, how that it really drove arrows into my heart, reminders into my mind, and just the desire to be faithful and to be a man of faith, because faith never fails. And so, Lord Jesus, I pray that you would give grace to Brother Mitchell as we discuss some very important things concerning the security of our church. Also knowing this, Lord, that we can prepare and we can make our plans, as it says either in Psalms or Proverbs, but ultimately the Lord is control. You are sovereign. And you will not allow anything to happen to us, Lord, outside of your will, because your will is perfect, and we can trust that. But I do believe that you also have called us to be wise as serpents, just harmless as doves. So we want to use that wisdom and apply it. We also want to pray for Brother Ben, our dear brother, servant of the Lord, so faithful in this church, Lord, as he's going through some health issues. I ask that this heart catheterization will show the doctors what needs to take place for Ben, whether he needs to have medication or, Lord, the truth is that you can clear out those arteries, and when they do the heart catheterization, they'll find nothing, and that would be wonderful. But we just know that he's in your hands, and being in your hands is being in good hands. And so you just help and grace him, and use this next 45 minutes or so to help us as a congregation to grow closer together, to love people, and to just know how to protect ourselves. And again, ultimately, put our trust in Jesus. And we ask it in Christ's name. Amen. Brother Mitchell, thanks.
Well, this afternoon, I'm just going to stand down here and talk to you guys for just a little while. There are some slides in this PowerPoint that I will skip over. And the reason being, I just don't think that we have to cover that for this particular church. I know that you've talked about these things already, if not even behind the scenes, and have made some preparations. And so some things I will pass over. This is a little bit of a heavy topic. And so I'll try to make it as lighthearted as I can at times when we come through this. It is sad that we have to be here discussing this, and I do this all over the state. And there's 4 other chaplains in the state police now that also do this in other areas, so I don't have to travel as much now. But we go to churches on top of churches, regardless of where they at or what their denominations are, and try to help them to establish some kind of a security or safety plan for their church. It's a shame that we have to be doing that, but that's the time that we live in. Yeah. So let me share with you just a few things to get your attention, and then we'll talk about some of the nuts and bolts of it all. I see by the clock it's about 20 after 1. I'm going to try to be done. I promise you it'll be no more than an hour, and hopefully between 45 minutes to an hour. And so I won't be in as much detail, but still be able to cover what I think will benefit you. And then if you want a copy, Pastor, or if anything I do here today, I will email it to you. I will also email a sample security safety policy to you. Whatever I can do to help you, what I have is yours. So I will email it. I put this together in November of 2017 when the church shooting happened in Texas. It was a rural community, a lot like what we experience here in West Virginia. And you had 20-some people, I can't remember the exact number now, that were murdered, including, I believe, the pastor's daughter. It was in a farming neighborhood, if you will, a small country church, a place where people thought this would never happen here. So here we are. We're at a church in a West Virginia, somewhat of a rural area. I know it's, kind of close to Charleston, in between Charleston, Winfield, Huntington, and so I know that we're not in that much of the country, but still, it's West Virginia. And so what I often hear, well, what's the chance of that ever happening here? Well, probably about the same chance as it was happening there in Texas in November. So if you look at all the churches in the United States and you average out the number of violent incidents that happens in churches and faith-based organizations, well, the chances of something like that happening here, fortunately, is slim, but it's still much greater than what it used to be, okay? So having said that, let me point out a few things to you, all right? Between 1999 and 2017, 1,665 people have been murdered in faith-based organizations within the United States. Now, let that sink in for a moment. Now, if you're talking about financial numbers, and you would say, looking at that as 1,665, my dad, who was in the banking business for 40-some years, used to tell me, now, son, that's not a whole lot of money if you say it fast. If you say $1,665, it's not a whole lot of money. But when you say $1,665, it seems to be more money. So let that sink in. That's not dollars, that's lives. Yeah. And what kind of a price do you put on lives? On our children's lives, on our families' lives. And so we have to protect that. And I've said that recently, as this morning, in dealing with a little situation at our church, I said our families are only as safe as the commitment of those who work for their safety. Okay? Our families are only as safe as the commitment of those who work for our safety. So commitment is something that's extremely important to those who will be working in this area. And who is that? It's all of you. All of us have a responsibility to that, though some of our responsibilities may differ than others. So, a lot of people, isn't it? 884 people since 2014. So what I did is I titled this, a Preventing and Planning for Violent Incidents of Mass Murder. Because that's what people that do church shootings are wanting to accomplish. It's about the body count. How many people can I kill? How much attention can I draw? And so forth. Solomon said that the thing that has been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun, as you know. And so we ask, why do these things happen? Well, it's been a good against evil ever since the beginning of time. Right. That's not changed. So there are still evil people that want to do bad things to us, and so that is still the case today. But since September of 2001, 9/11, when our towers were hit in that terrorist attack, a lot of the government buildings, the security has been hardened. And it makes it a lot less likely that somebody can get into those buildings to do harm. For example, I watched the federal building being built in Beckley. I was a city policeman there in Beckley City for about 7 years, and I was watching that building go up. When you pull in front of that building now, you'll see a nice landscaped hill that's there, and nice grass and shrubbery, and it looks really pretty. That was never there. And that's man-made. And why did they put it there? They put it there to prevent vehicles from being able to drive into the federal building. And so they did beautiful landscaping, in a sense, that would prevent people from having access by automobile into their building. And so what were they doing? They were trying to make it secure by still maintaining the beauty of it. And so that people would still be welcome and feel welcome as they come into this federal building. Well, we have a mission of sharing the gospel to lost people. We want our buildings to be open to everyone, and we want them to have a feeling of being welcome and open, so you don't want it to feel like Fort Knox. So you want safety measures put in place and people prepared to do things, if necessary, as a last resort, without them realizing that it's in place. So you want safety that is present but not necessarily seen. That way you can maintain the mission to which we so desperately want, and that is to share the message of Christ with others. So now, being here in this church, I know that I'm welcome and free to speak of Christ and to speak of the gospel and our main mission. Now, some places I go to present this, I'm not quite so free. So I know that we are here. But nothing is more open with large crowds as faith-based organizations. So I want you to look at some numbers. I want you to notice in 1999, I'm not going to go through every one of these numbers, but individually, but I just want to introduce it to you and then skip through them real quick. 1999, there was 22 people killed, okay? This is deaths in faith institutions, right? 22 people were killed, and there was a number of 10 violent incidences that took place. So what I'm doing right now is asking you, do you think that safety is necessary for our churches? 22 killed, 10 incidents. Now, if you look through there, you can see 9 people, 4, 11, 12, 3, 19 people killed, okay? Each one of those years. Now, let's move on. Look at the numbers, how they've changed. See there? Now look at there. Look at the number of incidents. See how 1999 it was 10? Now look at 2006, there's 27. Look down 2012, 139. It's only increased every year. Now look at the number of people killed. 2012, you're up to 76 people that year that was killed. Gets better, if you will. 2013 to 2017. Now look at 2015, 2016, 248 incidents, 246, 196 incidents, violent incidents across the country, the United States. And so 99 people killed in 2017 in faith-based organizations. Let me tell you what I've read about in the last few months. I'm connected to an organization that will send me updates in relating to this topic. Just in the last few months, in other states, not West Virginia, but in other states in the country, in the last few months, a person walked into a church, the pastor was preaching, he walks up to the front like this, and he starts pointing out some of his family members here, interrupts the pastor, and starts talking about a lot of the domestic problems they've had. Okay? They had security measures in place. They had some gentlemen that were strategically seated throughout the congregation, which is something that you might want to consider. You want to consider your pastor's protection as he's preaching. Some people do want to target the pastor these days. And so you might want to have people seated somewhere in this area up front, maybe two more seated toward the back somewhere. And that way you can confront someone that may want to do that right here. And you'll, as they're walking forward, you'll have 2 people maybe that comes in behind them. So you've got 2 here in the front, 2 behind. You've got 1 bad guy, 4 good guys. Okay? Odds are pretty good. So they were ready for that. He came up, interrupted the pastor, 2 people sitting here, get up, go up to approach the man. They're trying to calm him down, trying to lead him out of the congregation. That's what you want to do. You want to immediately get them out of the congregation. Get them away from the people as quickly as possible. Whatever needs is necessary, you do that. Remove him. He reached in for his weapon. At this point, he was going to try to pull a pistol out to shoot his family members in the church and whoever else got in his way. They were prepared for that too. And as soon as his hand went from where it could be seen to where it could not be seen, they took him down. They never actually saw the weapon. But when he did this, okay, or this, as soon as he did that, they took him down, got the weapon from him, escorted him out of the building. Pastor continued. I don't know how effective the sermon was at that point, but he did continue. Okay? All right. Everybody take a deep breath. Everything's fine. Okay, so you go on. Well, they were prepared for that. Also, in the last few months, a person comes into the church, has a duffel bag or backpack with him. In that backpack, he pulls out a large knife and he begins to attack the pastor. This was preceding the worship service. A lot of people were there. He pulls out a knife, gets ready to go after the pastor. They had a plan. There were several off-duty police officers who were armed that were there. One of them immediately grabbed the man from behind, took him down, and the other one jumped on top of him, was able to step on the knife. They secured him with handcuffs, and he was taken out of the building. They had a plan. So that's what we're talking about. In the event that something like this would ever transpire here at Twin City, you want to have a plan to protect your families. This is a ministry. Safety and security for our families and our churches is a ministry. You are securing your building to provide a safe atmosphere for disciples to be made. Amen. And so that's what you do. So don't look at this as something that is a bad thing. It is a tragedy that we have to be here discussing this, yes, but it's also a reality. And so we can't ignore it. I've showed you that. Now, as far as mental blocks, I know that you're moving forward on a safety plan, so I'm not going to deal a lot of time here today on talking about mental blocks. I know you're past that point, and you're moving forward to a plan, okay? So I'm going to bypass some of these. Now, the comment was made this morning, you know, isn't the church supposed to trust people? No, you're not. Trust is not a gift. It's only wages paid to those who earn it. And so here's my motto in life. Now understand, I've spent 28 years as a policeman, and that's not been behind a desk, that's been in the field. No investigations, putting people in prison. I've spent 28 years doing that in the military, civilian, here. So I've seen a lot of stuff over the years. Now, my motto is, in God we trust. All others we ID. Okay? That's what I say. So that's what we do. Now, we know that we can learn to trust people, but that is something that they have earned over a period of time. You don't take just someone that walks in your doors today and put them as director of your children's ministry tomorrow, right, do you? Right. This is the same principle. And so, yes, trust is earned, all right? Now, let's talk about some legal considerations. If you're going to set up a security and safety program for your church, what are some of the legal considerations? Well, number one, it's no longer needed to have a concealed weapons permit in the state of West Virginia to carry your weapons concealed. So any of you can legally do that, provided you've not been convicted of domestic battery, provided that you've not been involuntarily committed to a mental institution, or should have been. Okay. You're not mentally quit looking at your spouses. You're not mentally defective in some way. Okay. So those are some of the parameters. Or you have not been convicted of a felony offense. All right. So you can't carry a firearm in that case either, in a felony offense. Now, let me say this. You may have people in your churches that have been convicted of felonies. It does not mean that they are not beneficial to your church. What it means is they may not be able to serve in that particular capacity as an armed responder in a safety and security plan. That's all that means. But it does not mean that they cannot serve in other areas of your safety plan. I'll give you an example. At our church, we have a man who has a felony conviction. I first went there as an interim pastor, just to fill in for them for a while until they can find someone. Well, they found someone. So I've been there 2 years. Now, this young man walked up to me not long after I was there, and he says, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't." And I was talking to him, and he said, "Well, you put me in prison." And I said, "Well, praise the Lord." So at this point, I immediately reach back and make sure it's there. Yes, it's there. I'm good. Yeah, so go ahead and stand this way. Yeah. This way. So, how's life been treated? Well, no, it wasn't quite like that. I was glad to see him in a way because I didn't recognize him. He had changed so much because God had worked such an amazing work in this man's life.
Amen.
This is a guy sent to prison for burglary because he had a drug problem, but he is now married, 3 children, and is one of the most faithful members of our church. And today, I'd give him a key to my house and say, I'm leaving with you, my children.
Yeah. Amen.
That's the difference that God makes in people's lives.
Amen.
Not just his and mine. Now, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
So you have people that may have a past, but it doesn't mean that God can't use them today.
Amen.
And he can. Now, he's in the process almost of having his record completely expunged. Okay? So as soon as that happens, hey, I trust this man with anything. And so he'll be able to serve in that capacity too. I just say that because if you have someone with that record, it's okay. They can still be utilized. And if you are here with that kind of a background or history, be encouraged. God can still use you in an amazing way too. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Prohibited from firearms are those we just talked about. So you want to stay away from that to keep yourself in good shape. Laws do not restrict the carrying of firearms in church unless it's posted by the church. Now you can post no firearms allowed, but if you do that, that can also restrict you in civil liability later on because you're violating your own standards. The church can also hire security if you want. I mean, you can hire police officers and stuff that will work extra duty, but that becomes very expensive. What you want is people within your church to serve in this capacity that have that sheepdog mentality. That is, they're after the wolves. They're there to protect the sheep. They're a sheepdog. They're there to protect the sheep against the wolves, and they have that kind of mentality, but yet they are loving. They have a great relationship with Christ, and they want what we all want. They want to accomplish the main mission while keeping people safe. So that's what you want, because if you have that kind of a person, the biggest part of safety and security is prayer. So you want your people that's in that position to be prayer warriors.
Yeah.
Okay? It's what you want. It makes all the difference in the world. So if they're out in the parking lot, as part of their task is to make sure that, everything's staying safe in the parking lot, wouldn't it be great to know that they come early before anybody else has got there, making sure they're aware of every vehicle that may have been left on the parking lot the night before. But while they're out there, they're praying as they're doing their job, saying, God, protect us today. Protect our parking lot today. See, there's sheepdogs that you might not ever think about that, but that's what the sheepdog thinks about. Protect us today. Protect this parking lot. Protect this area. Protect our children. And even while I'm preaching to you, I tell you, I notice who gets up and walks out. I notice who comes in. And there's been some times as a pastor when someone comes, I've never seen them before, I'm automatically analyzing them and wondering, why are they here? Isn't that bad? When a pastor asks, why are they here? We want them to be here, okay? But that's the sheepdog in me.
Yeah.
Wondering, not only am I glad you're here, but I want to know, why are you here? A man visits our church not long ago. He brings in a backpack. Some of our people have been trained. We're still in progress. Safety and security, it's always in progress. As your church grows, as it changes, you may have to change things to fit it. So you never stop training, you never stop planning, never stop progressing in whatever you do. But we have some men who are trained now, and they come in with a backpack. They welcome me at the door. So glad to see him. Said, hey, we're so glad to have you here. Are you from this area? Good work, men. Finding out where he's from. No, where are you from? I'm from Washington State. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, why is someone from Washington State all the way here? Could be they're visiting. Oh, so you have family in this area? No, she had no family. So he has no tie to this community. So what brings you here? You're just vacationing? He's in Fayetteville's a vacation spot for a lot of people. A lot of outdoor activities goes on. I'm just hiking. Well, you've been hiking for a long time? He said, well, I've hiked here all the way from Washington State. He said, I don't really have a home. Just wandering place to place. I saw on a sign you had Bible study tonight, and I thought I might come by. And I said, we're so glad you came. We're so glad to have you. So what are we doing? We're finding out some information while at the same time thrilled to death that he has come by to be in Bible study. Perhaps God has put us in his path for that particular night. The backpack can remain in the foyer, but perhaps God has put him in our path. So we said, sir, would you mind to leave the backpack out here in the foyer? We'll watch over it for you. Would you mind to do that for us? He said, you don't feel comfortable with me taking it in? Well, sir, you know the times in which we live. And he said, oh, no, not at all. He said, I'll leave it right here for you. As soon as I came in, pastor, a guy sitting in the middle section, back pew, second seat over. He's from Washington State. He's hiking, has no family. Backpack's in the foyer. Thank you. It's pretty good stuff.
Amen.
I come in. Hi, I'm Pastor Jim. Good to have you tonight. So glad you're here. Can I sit down with you for a moment? Sure. We just start talking. I said, what brings you by? He said, I just saw you sign for Bible study. I said, we're studying through 1 Corinthians. That's an exciting study. I said, I'm so glad you're here. I said, anything I can help you with right now? Anything I can talk to you about? He said, no, I'm just here to enjoy it. So I shake his hand. All right, he stands up. Well, I shake his hand. He stands up. And I said, I'm so glad to have you. He thought it was a love pat. I'm checking him for weapons. Because the guys have already checked the backpack out in the foyer. So we're good to go. Now, is that a sick mindset to have?
No.
Welcoming, loving, cautious.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about, okay? Now, why do we have an increase of attacks in faith-based organizations? A lot of people would think it's because of our stance against some of the biblical issues, like abortion, homosexuality, same-sex marriage. Listen, folks, it's not our stance. It's God's stance.
Yeah, right.
We are delivering the message that God has given us. That is a truth. That these things, of course, if you're a Bible-preaching, believing church, are sinful. So you stand against these things. Even other religions that do not believe in Christ. They stand against us. We would stand against them. As to we think what we are preaching and teaching is the truth, according to the Bible. You would think that that would draw a lot of people that would want to send their message of opposition against you. Well, that is true to an extent. But you'll find as we go through this, that's not the biggest reason, a lot of times, where violence happens in the church. Now, there are people like that, but most of it happens because of domestic issues, family issues. Someone's come there to get after somebody else, and they just get whoever else is in the way. Sometimes they have mental issues combined with domestic issues. That's what happened in Texas at that church. So those are things that you want to think about. So continue to stand on the Word of God. Continue to do our mission, but protect our people as best we can. What do you think the most likely crime in a faith organization is? Anybody want to throw one out there? The most likely crime. Sir? Murder? Well, given to what we've been talking about, I certainly can understand why you would think that, but a lot of people killed. But the most likely crime would be, anyone else? Sexual molestation and sexual offenses. Sir?
Theft.
Theft? Theft? What's that? Arson. Vandalism.
Property damage.
Yeah, okay, property damage, vandalism, arson, sexual crimes. Catholic Church certainly dealing with that today, aren't they? In a major, major way.
Yeah.
But listen, we're not exempt from it either.
Right.
Okay? So I looked over your building a little bit while I've been walking back and forth to food. Believe it or not, your food was not the only thing I checked out. The food was good, but everything else, it looks good here too, though, in many ways. The most, you're right. Murder certainly does happen, yes. Unfortunately, that happens. Arson, yes. Vandalism, yes. But the most popular crime is that of burglary, okay? Burglary, theft, okay? That's the most likely. Sometimes it comes, unfortunately, also from within the organization. So what you want to do, one part of safety, you always think, well, okay, now you guys know I'm armed, so everybody would think, well, the most important part then of safety is a weapon, right? No, not the most important. There's a lot of other things that we want to take into account in safety long before we ever get to a point of a firearm. Most of the things of what we can do prevents this from ever becoming necessary.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what we're working toward. It's where the firearm never becomes necessary. It's very seldom, well, more now than used to be, that a police officer ever has to discharge his firearm. I mean, I've done this 28 years, I've never had to discharge it. I've been in a shooting, but I didn't have to discharge the weapon. I couldn't. There was a crowd of people. I can't see who the shooter is. So I'm pinned down until we get him taken care of. So we do that, it's over. But not a good feeling, by the way. However, when we're talking about burglary and theft, you want to have your financial system set up to where there is just not one person that counts the money. There's not just one person that deposits the money all the time. See, we are creatures of habit and routine. So just some things to think about. You deposit your money. Is it always the same person that deposits the money? Do they always deposit the money on the same day at the same time? Do they always take the same route to the same organization? Because criminals aren't dumb. And so if they want to and they think that this is a church that has a reasonable amount of money, then they'll come after that church, and so they'll sit and watch and they'll figure things out. They may even attend your church for a while at times to figure these things out. So if you could mix it up, that would be good. Never go the same direction, same place, the same direction all the time. My wife listens to me all the time about that. If I'm going to the same place, I take different roads to get there. Okay? A while back, I'm traveling home. I notice the same set of headlights behind me for some period of time. I get to the red light. I turn left. They turn left. I turn right. They turn right. One of those things. So I'm going down my road, getting toward where I have to turn off to go to my house. They're still following me. So what I do is I bypass my street and pull into my buddy's driveway. And they go on. That way they'll think that's where I live. So then I go back and go to my house. All right? But I'm always cautious about that. So if you take different routes sometimes, it's beneficial. All I'm saying is, don't be so predictable in the way that you do things, because we are creatures of habit. But that is the most eventful, the most often occurring crime is that of theft and burglary. Now, when we talk about protecting the sheep, what kind of people do we want to serve in these capacities? What kind of people? Well, you want sheepdogs, right? You want people that's going to protect us from the Goliaths that's out there. You know the Goliaths, the people that are all set on accomplishing their own agenda, regardless of who they have to hurt or kill in the process. So when we talk about David, here's some characteristics about David that we want in our own sheepdogs. And I guarantee you, you have sheepdogs in your church. People that are nice, kind, gentle, loving. But in cases of extreme violence, will not hesitate to use extreme violence in order to stop extreme violence. It's not wrong. A lot of times churches feel it is. It's never wrong to use extreme violence to stop extreme violence. Right. We have a duty to protect our people and the lives of our children and our families. So David was a man that was aware. Okay? He heard the enemy. If you read the story of David and Goliath, you know it well. He heard the enemy. He knew what was going on. He was conscious of the threat. Do you know who will hurt you? You know who will hurt you? People who are mentally ill will hurt you. People who have intents of robbing you will hurt you. People who are disgruntled about something may hurt you. All right, so there's all kinds of different people out there that can hurt you. But so we have to be aware of the threat. A sheepdog is somebody that listens and hears and is aware of what's going on around them. So while we're here just enjoying the service, they are too, but they're also watching and they're also aware of what goes on around them. Okay, they can do more than one thing at a time, but their main point is to be aware of what's going on around them. They're also a person that's criticized. Okay, I can remember when I was working at a church that sometimes the only way I could be there is to be there in uniform, because I was working, so I had to go by in uniform. Well, they wanted somebody to lead the singing. Sometimes the only time I could do it is to scoot in off of the road to lead the singing, but I was sometimes in uniform. But I didn't care. I led the singing. And so I could help, but I was in uniform. And so I was criticized by people because he just wants to be in that uniform. So he likes people looking at him in that uniform. He wants people to see him. He thinks he's all there in the uniform. You know, that's just church members that don't do any other thing. That's what they do. Let's face it. The people that grumble and whine the most are those who do the least. And we all know that. And so, you know, consider the source and drive on. So did I quit wearing my uniform? No, I wore it more. So, he was aware, but he was also criticized. Remember his brothers? Why are you here, David? Who's home tending the sheep, David? So there will always be some critics. But don't let that stop you. See the bigger picture. You know the importance of protecting our people. Don't let the critics of a few stop you from protecting even them. You want to protect everyone. You know, if I was David, I'd have looked at him and said, what battle? All of you are here standing here with your knees knocking together because Goliath's out there running off at the yapper. You know? But then David did essentially say that, didn't he? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should have fouled the armies of the living God? He was aware, he would face the criticism, it didn't shake him. He was confident. Okay? He had a heart that's trusting in God. And he had a habit of training. I was asked a question earlier. How many people should carry a firearm in the church? Technically, everybody's allowed to carry one. However, if something happens, you don't want a crossfire situation.
Yeah, right.
Then you hurt more people. So you want a particular number of people, whatever you decide that would be, that may have firearms, and you want people that are very, very trained with that firearm. You can field strip it, clean it, put it back together, even without looking at it. You want to be that familiar with it. You want to be able to have shot at least 2,000 rounds through that weapon. Okay? You want to know it. You want it to be an extension of you. You want to be able to just make it feel as if it's natural in your hand, and you know everything that you need to do with that. You can shoot it, change magazines, and re-engage, all without taking your eye off the target. That's training. Don't ever think that you will just rise to the occasion when something bad happens. You will never, ever, ever, ever rise to the occasion. When something happens, you only fall to your highest level of training. That's all you do. When something happens, you only fall to your highest level of training. The reason that we train so much, and that's what I do now, I'm a trainer, I'm an instructor. So the reason we train so much, why? We want it to happen subconsciously. I want to be able to pull, engage, do what I'm supposed to do without even thinking about it. People that do that never even hear the shot they fire. It's called audio exclusion. They are so focused subconsciously on what they do, they never hear the sound of the weapon that they fire. If you're out on the shooting range, your ears will ring. In a situation like that, you'll never hear it. Pretty neat, isn't it? That's training. So never think that you'll just rise to the occasion. You only fall to your highest level of training. Always remember that. So what is your plan if? What is your plan if the pastor's preaching and somebody comes in to disrupt it? What is your plan if somebody comes in and wants to remove one of the children from your children's ministry while the service is going on? Do you have a sign in, sign out? Is there a list of who can take them, who cannot? Those are the things you want to develop plans for. So you say, where do I start in a church safety plan, a church security plan? Where do I start? Well, you start with the things that are the most natural, the things that are easiest for you to correct today. All right? Now, we'll talk about some of the things that we want to do in just a moment. All right? I want to get ahead of myself. So we're talking about the characteristics. We are aware, we're able to take criticism, we're confident because we have a habit of training. All right? We have developed plans for different things that could possibly occur at Twin City. We develop plans on how we're going to respond. Have a designated standard operating procedure. If somebody walks in to disrupt the pastor, this is what we do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That way there's no question. You don't share that with everybody in the church. Because what if this church falls within one of those 25 percentile when the person that committing the violence actually comes from within the ranks of the church? You don't want them to know about everything that you have planned. You just want them to know we're here to protect you. It's okay. Come and enjoy and be safe. If a threat happens and you have a plan, is there a chance somebody could still be hurt or killed? Yes. It's a possibility. But most likely, not near as many that could have been. You'll save a lot of lives. So you'll know what to do if you are trained. It's a difference between responding and reacting. Okay? Responding equals preparedness and training. Reaction is just something you do. But it's never as good as responding. How many of you enjoy golf? If you raise your hand if you enjoy golf. Okay, a lot of people in here enjoy golf. Great, great. They say you either like it or you don't like it, is what I've heard. I have golfed twice in my life. The first time, I didn't think I liked it. The second time, I was sure of it. I'm not a real patient guy. And that is a game of skill. It's a game of skill, patience, and it's very challenging. And I admire a lot of people who do it. I've got a lot of friends who do it, and a lot of pastor friends, and I enjoy going out on the golf course. Not that I can do any good, but I enjoy making fun of those who do. That way, when I get up, I don't feel quite so bad when they laugh at me. But you know what a golf course is? Can I define it for you? A golf course is a very poor use of a mighty fine rifle range. That's what a golf course is. You think of the rifle shooting that can take place on a golf course. That's what we need, men. More rifle ranges, a lot less golf courses. Now, if you're a golfer, you know I'm just picking on you. But it is a game of skill. Good just to emphasize the necessity of training and the importance of training, okay? Some people might ask while I'm on this topic, do some churches have rifles? Yes, they do. I can take you to churches in West Virginia that has a place where a rifle is kept and one person has responsibility of it who is outstanding with it. And it's in a position to where no one would think it's there, and it's in a position to where in most cases an aggressive person would never know they were there. Okay? But it's not something that's ever advertised. People in the church doesn't know. I know it's there because I helped them set some stuff up. But you'll know what to do if you're trained. Okay? So to answer that, train. Okay, in everything that you do. All right. We talked about it being a ministry. It is. We look at pastors, worship leaders, elders, deacons, ushers, youth pastors, teachers, all within that circle of ministry, and we put church security someplace out here. It needs to fit in that circle. So I give you your motto: to create a safe atmosphere so that disciples can be made. We mentioned that just a little bit earlier. So it's as much a ministry as anything else. All right? Confrontive. When David saw Goliath, he heard Goliath, what did he do? He went toward the threat. Okay? We need to be on the offensive, not the defensive. So we need to have security in the parking lot, security in the foyers, security in the sanctuary. We need to have safety measures taken up to where we can see what's going on, to where we can prevent something from happening. What is the best way to be confrontive? What is the best way to be on the offensive? Lock your doors. You have to come up with the best way to do this, but your exterior doors need to be locked. You say, but we're a church. We don't want to lock our doors. Lock them in a way to where people don't realize they're locked. Okay, there's ways to do that. Let's say your doors are locked. You have an usher at the door. Okay, also with that usher, or maybe the usher himself, they may both be sheepdogs. Okay? They're both protectors, but they're there to greet you. The difference between an usher and a sheepdog is the usher glad you're there, the sheepdog wants to know why you are. So, you're there at the door's locked, but you see someone coming. You know them. That's Sister so-and-so. That's Brother so-and-so. You see them coming, you open the door for them. They never even knew it was locked. You see someone's coming that is suspicious. It's in the middle of the summer. They have a long coat on. You're not so sure about what's under that. You've never seen them before. Your gut is telling you something might be wrong here. So what do? Make your way outside the door. The door shuts behind you. It's locked. Hey, sir, how are you? Good to see you today. How are you? And you give that special handshake like I showed you with your pastor while ago. All right? Ask him some questions. You have a right not to admit someone that you are concerned about. Talk to them. Find out. And hey, if it gets down to it, say, sir, do you have any weapons? What's wrong with that? Someone tried to get into church a while back in West Virginia. He had a gas can with him. Comes walking up to the door and carrying his gas can. They stop him at the door. Hey, sir, how you doing? They met him outside. The door's locked behind them. He can't get in. How you doing? Fine? Just thought I'd come by and visit tonight. Well, that's great. Hey, sir, you're welcome to come on in. Just, if you want to, leave your trash can right, your gas can right there, and we'll watch over it for you, and everything will be fine. He said, I want to bring that in with me. Sir, I'm sorry, We really don't need gas. I mean, I don't know what they told him. We're all full here. We don't need any more. You can leave it outside, whatever you want to say. But, sir, we just really don't need a gas can, inside the building, so if you wouldn't care to leave that out there. He said, I'm leaving it out here. I'm coming in with my gas can. And at this point, things changed. No, you're not hearing what I'm telling you. The gas can stays outside. You want to come in? You're welcome, sir. We want to welcome everyone here, except gas cans. Gas can stays outside. You telling me I can't come in? No, sir. I'm telling you that your gas can can't come in. You can come in. If I had hair, I'd do a hair flip. So he says, I'll go someplace else. Have a good day, sir. They probably won't accept your gas can. You have a good day. So he goes somewhere else. You have the right to do that, okay? Protect your people. Now, the chances of these things happening are slim to none. So if you have your doors locked, and your service has started especially to prevent somebody from just walking in with a weapon. They can't get in, okay? If it's locked in that sense. So lock your doors. At our church, we've implemented over the last 2 years some security measures. We have the magnetron, those magnetic locks on our doors, okay? Of course, we have a motion sensor on them. As soon as you walk up to the door, it hits and you can go right on out. You never even know it's locked. We have installed 14 cameras. You have cameras here. I don't know where all they are. I know you got here, you got one out in your foyer, and I saw, and are the other places? Yeah. Okay, I quit looking after the foyer. I knew you had some cameras, but that's good. We have 14 cameras around our building, records our hallways and our exterior parking lots all around the building, our gymnasium, inside the gym. We have it up in our teen room where our young people meet. How teenagers can be. So we have a camera up there, and so we tell all the teenagers, smile. You're on candid camera. They all know. We don't make a big deal out of it, but they know it's there. That's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. So it's all there. It protects you also from false accusations that people can make. And so that's a good thing. That's all part of safety and security, false accusations. So we got cameras. We have one room that is set aside to where we have a safety personnel that works inside that room, and he monitors the cameras. He can see everything in the entire building. We're soon to have a radio system within 2 weeks to where has an earpiece to where we have armed responders that are inside the sanctuary as well that are over in the gymnasium. We have one that's going to be over there with our children's church program and stuff like that goes on to where they can be over there with his children. You can't get into these buildings unless he hits the button for that door to release. The thing is, they don't even pay any attention to the locks being there. Because here comes brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so. We watch you from the time you pull in the parking lot. We can zoom in on you, whatever. You get out, about 4 steps from the door, they hit the button, they just reach the door and walk right on in, just as if it was locked. Unless it's somebody that's coming that we want to pick on them. Then we say, password. You know how church people are. We love each other. We're family. We like to pick on each other. So we do that. Okay? I won't say a word, honey. I will not say one word. I looked back there at her and she went. We've been married what now? 26? 26 wonderful, blissful, exciting years. We've never argued. We've had a few moments of intense fellowship, but we've never. Some Baptists were afraid of it. Okay, another thing is de-escalation. Lock your doors, de-escalate. Learn how to talk to people. I actually have training. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but have training on how to de-escalate situations. Someone comes in trying to interrupt your pastor while he's preaching, okay? Pastor stops preaching, he kind of steps back, you've got 2 people already that's here talking to him. Okay, I'm looking at him, sir, I can see you're upset. Look him in the eye. Why, at the same time, you're noticing where the hands are. Hands kill. Hands kill. Know where the hands are at all times. Hands should never be here, should never be here, should never be here. Hands are here. Sir, I can tell you're upset. Please keep your hands where I can see them. I can tell you're upset. I know, let's talk about this. Can we help you? I want to help you. We really do. We want to help you. Why don't you come right this way with me? Okay? Pastor, can I use you again? Okay. So, Pastor comes up. He's the one being so irate. I can tell you're upset. I really want to help you, sir. Please keep your hands out of your pocket. I really want to help you, sir. Will you keep your hands out? I'll tell you what, sir. I really want to help you. Come with me. So, what we do is it's all right, guys. We've got him right here, and I've got him to where I can lock this. I can do whatever I want with him. And we can just dance all over this congregation. I love the pastor. I know I can pick with him.
Are you done with me?
I'm done. He is out of here. So you take him, then you escort them away. The quickest route away from the sanctuary, I don't know what's behind here, but you would know that. The quickest way to get him away from the people. If he does not want to go, if he resists or fights you, you don't want to take him down to the ground. Immediately take him down. Speak to him. While you've got him, sir, it is okay. Calm down. Relax. We're not here to hurt you. We're not here to hurt you. If he doesn't, turn it up. But you got to know how to turn it up. And then take him away from the people. You'll never rise to that. You got to train for that. So, how do you get that training? Well, I'll talk to you that in a bit. You probably got people in your church, truth be known, that probably can handle themselves quite well and may be trained in those areas. If you do, utilize them. Hey, they're always looking for a way to use their abilities in ministry. This is a great way to do that. You might know someone else in another church that could come help you. The techniques like I use with your pastor are very easy to learn and very basic, okay? But you just turn those up and to help people. But de-escalate it, get them away from the crowd as quickly as possible, okay? You sometimes got to be confronted. Sometimes you do. Lock your doors, okay? Secure those. We have the cameras. We have the door locks. Now we have the radio system. If the guy on the camera sees something, he can get on the radio. No one's going to hear it. He can get on the radio. This goes in the earpiece of the ones in the sanctuary. We have a problem. Hallway number so-and-so. We have 2 floors. We number our hallways. Got a problem. Hallway number 1. Okay? A or B. Hallway number 2. A or B. 2 would be the second floor. A or B. Depends on which direction you're in. So it's that simple. That way they'll know exactly where to go. Hey, Jim, we got a problem. Hallway 2A. Guy up there, never seen him before. He's hanging outside where the kids are. I don't know who he is. Okay, no problem. First question is, how to get in? Okay? In most cases, we're hoping to hear, got a problem with the guy outside in the parking lot wanting in, don't know who he is. Then one of our sheepdogs will go greet him, talk with him, and welcome him right on in if necessary, or prevent that from coming. So we have those magnetic locks on all of our doors, push button, they're in. Most people, 99.9% of them, never even know the door's locked. It's unlocked before they ever get there. They never even experience a locked door. So we're still able to maintain that open, free, welcoming atmosphere while yet being able to control access into our building. It's one of the basic things. Years ago, when churches were built, they were all built with a lot of glass. There are protective films that you can get to put over your glass doors. They're not necessarily bulletproof or bullet resistant. What they do is they become like a windshield that prevents that from shattering if shot. YouTube videos, if you look up protective film for glass on YouTube, you'll see where a person can shoot through that glass, shoot it one time, the glass will shatter, they can walk through, be through that door in about 2 seconds. With this security film, it takes them 90 seconds to shoot through it several times and even beat through it in order to gain access. What can happen in 90 seconds? A lot. In 10 seconds at our church, locks that we are going to get ready to install on our sanctuary doors where you come in, We're installing some that we can slide up. Is that a violation of fire code? Absolutely. Are we going to install them anyway? Absolutely. Why are we going to do it? Because they're only going to be used in the case of a shooting event. So that would overrule the fire code. You see what I mean? To save lives. So what we'll do is we want to try, if I get news that, or one of our security guys do, there's somebody in the parking lot we think he's got a gun, no problem. Somebody will immediately just get up, walk over, slide the lock up. That prevents them from coming into the sanctuary, where all of our people are at. You need a way to notify, if you have children's ministries or something going on during church time, you need a way to notify your other people that they can secure their doors. I noticed your classroom doors are, they have the glass on them, but they look like they all had locks, key locks, is that right? And good solid wood doors they look like to me. I didn't feel them, but they look great. I was getting real excited. You know, this is good, this is great. Woo! Yeah, exciting place to be. You know, good security. So they can lock them doors, nothing as simple as a cardboard painted black, okay? Where Velcro, where you can get up and stick right over the window. That way somebody coming in, if it would be a shooter, cannot see through those doors. And so you've locked them, you've got all your kids away from it, over in the back corner, playing the quiet game with them, the quiet prayer time. You can train your kids to do that. Hey kids, let's all come over here to the corner. Let's pray together. And whoever can be the quietest during our time of prayer will get a treat. So if something like that ever happened, okay kids, it's quiet prayer time. You got to come up with a way to how would you notify those teachers? You know, and maybe there's a bell that could ring. That you would train your teachers would only ring at a certain time. Maybe there's lights. In our sanctuary, we have a red LED light up here on the top, and we have one back here on the back wall. Sort of like where your fire alarm indicator would be, right underneath your rear camera. And if something were to happen, while our security is being notified immediately by radio, by the piece in their ear, the light is switched on. As soon as the light goes on, our people know there is an emergency situation. Stay where you're at. And so the people know to stay in place, because those doors will be locked. We have another door that exits will be made out of by some of our armed personnel. And they'll go to take care of whatever the situation is, while we can keep our people safe, inside, secure. Okay, makes sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Courageous, we know what that means. We talked about not living in denial. It can happen here, about detecting. See, y'all thought, man, he's still got a lot of slides to go through, but a lot of the stuff we've already talked about. Understanding the triggers. Remember I told you when does violence happen? Robbery is about 25.8%. Domestic relationships spillover. I'm talking about when would violence occur in the church. Domestic relations, 16%. Personal conflict, 13.5%. Gang activity, 9%. Mental illness, 11%. So you combine mental illness with domestic relationship, you know, the percentage really goes up in a situation like that. So that's when violence could occur within your church. Now, we talked about robbery with most congregations. This I've already talked about. Cash handling policies. Do you have a safe place to go to count your money? Do you have a place to secure your money? You want to think about that. Do you have a safe you can put it into? How many people knows the combinations to your safe? Can I tell you a funny? I'm not at the church very long, where I'm at now. Of course, I'm security conscious anyway, and we needed to get into the safe where a spare key was. I asked one of the trustees, I said, do y'all know how to get in the safe? He said, sure, Pastor. He said, you have the combination? I said, no, I don't want it. Don't want it. And he said, okay. He said, well, I can work it for you. He punched in the combination, you can't get the safe open. And I said, well, anybody else know how to work it? And this young boy, about 8 years old, comes around the corner. He said, you need in the safe, preacher? And I'm thinking, this is interesting. I said, yeah, I do, buddy. Can you help me? He said, I sure can. Walks over and opens the safe door. 8 years old. I'm thinking two things. You know, one is, this is a problem. And then number two, I looked over at the trustee. I said, he's a good guy to train you. The trustee he looks at me, shakes his head. He said, I had no idea. Well, we do now. I said, probably a time to change her. So we changed it. So there we are. So these things you got to be conscious of. I told you to try to make it a little bit lighter if we can. Domestic violence. Let me say this quickly, and I want to draw this to a close and I'll just wrap some things up because I don't want to hold you. This is a 3-hour class that I'm squeezing here in 45 minutes, okay? So, or an hour. What was I going to tell you? Oh, it was good too. Y'all ever do that? What was I talking about?
Domestic violence.
Oh, yeah. Domestic violence. If you know of a situation of domestic violence within your church, you need to designate someone. The pastor knows about these things, and for sake of confidence, he doesn't want to discuss everybody's personal issues, and that's the way it should be. However, there needs to be a designee, somebody's in charge of your safety program, to where the pastor could say, if you hear of a problem within the church that could be a safety concern for any of our people, including the family of those may be involved, report that to someone. You don't ever want to say someone, because then it may never get reported. Designate someone, like your safety person, that could be made aware of any of those potential issues. Sometimes the pastor may know of something. He needs to go to the director of your safety program. It needs to be someone, of course, that he can trust. And say, we have a little situation with so-and-so. He doesn't have to reveal all the information. Just say, so that you can be aware of this. Excuse me. I didn't mean to burp, but that was just good chicken. So, Parmesan chicken it was. See, I have issues a little bit with ADD. Sometimes I chase rabbits. Y'all understand? Okay. Oh, that was a pretty one. Excuse me. So, domestic violence, okay? We need to make people aware, the necessary people, so that we can know what's going on. Because if a person is wanting to hurt their spouse for some reason, they'll know where to find them, either at work or at the place of worship. Most likely that's where it'll be. All right? So let's make sure that we're aware of those things so we can keep that from happening. Website. I've not looked at your website recently. I looked at it some time ago. I used to listen to your pastor preach on some of his sermons. You were preaching through the book of Esther some time ago, and I listened to some of your messages on Esther. You got a good pastor. He does a good job speaking. And sometimes I'll listen to sermons on the way back and forth, so sometimes I'm listening to you and you don't even know I'm listening to you.
Just don't grab my arm.
So that's, but anyway, look at your website. Make sure you're not posting anything, and I know you don't. This church wouldn't be worried about it. Some churches take social media and websites and use it as an opportunity to rant, and you're just inviting problems. Yeah. Okay? Social media was never intended to expose all of your personal information. It was meant just to keep in contact with people, not to share all your personal, intimate details.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Oh, good gracious.
Reach.
Yeah, come on. All right. Controversial topics, everything we discussed. Your photos, I probably wouldn't put photos on your website anymore. Especially not of your children, your family. I really wouldn't. You can tell about your family, but I wouldn't put photos on there. Now, if you look at our website, I think the picture of me and my wife are still on our website. I've tried to take it down, but my wife says I'm so handsome, she wants it up. So I leave it. We're changing that too. Hope you don't mind my sense of humor, but this is kind of a serious thing, so I like to laugh. I love to laugh. And laugh is good. Laughter is good. So we know what kind of people we want. We know how to tap them. So that, what do you teach your congregation? You don't tell your congregation everything, because some things, as far as your method of response, needs to be kept quiet, so that for the reason of safety and security. But you do want to teach them how to recognize, how to report, and how to respond to things, okay? So, and that goes without explanation. Now, in the things that I'll send you, if you want them, Pastor, it'll have even more of this information explained. Develop a policy and procedure How do I do that? Don't have a policy and procedure. I'll send you one. I'll have it in Microsoft Word, PDF. You can take it, copy and paste it, adapt it, and use it in any way that helps you. This is a very exhaustive one. You may not need something that big. But I wanted to do something that was exhaustive so that it would fit just about any church. Take it and use whatever you want. I'll send that to you. When we're recognizing people, suspicious behavior, you're looking for clothing, how they're acting, things like that. Now, I've answered this question. I said 25% is 23%. We talked about developing a crisis plan. I'll send you a crisis plan. I'll send you a policy, and you can look and it'll explain all of that. Okay? Now, I do want to point this out to you. When you're looking at violence occurring on faith-based institutions, 31% occurs inside the building. 69% occurs outside, either on the ministry property, in the parking lot areas, or off property. If you're doing a youth activity somewhere else, something like that, think safety, think security. 69% occurs off property. 40% occurs actually during the event, 60% occurs after the event, or before, just off hours. 73% is a single attacker, but don't ever just assume it is. You might say, well, if you got a shooter that comes in one door, why not send everybody out the other door? That's run, hide, fight mentality. Okay, anybody here in the school system? Okay, you've been taught that, run, hide, fight. You know what I'm talking about. You run, that's your first option if you can get away from it. But the thing is, you don't know what exactly you're running to. If you run outside, you could have another shooter outside. So you need some safe areas, stuff like that. So I'm thinking in my mind, if we can lock people in and secure them in a place where we can keep the shooter out, it's probably the best option until we can determine that there's no one outside. The benefit of having cameras outside too is you can see what was going on around you also. So we can know, and we'll be able to communicate by the radio. We'll have some guy, one of our armed responses, say, okay, everybody come and line up at this door. Stay right here, but line up at this door. Constant communication, what's going on the outside. Then we know whether we can direct them away or we keep them right where they're at while we take care of the situation. Just keep that in mind. Most time it's one person, but you just never know. Policies, we've talked about those policies that we can provide for you. So I'm going to skip over all this policy stuff. Y'all okay with that? I know you are. All right. Attackers, who are they? Employees. Okay, I'll just tell you who they are. There we go. Employee, domestic, client, patrons. All right. Former employee, disgruntled. Maybe someone you counseled, they're mad at you because of the way you counsel them. You've got a couple separated, getting divorced, and one of them blames the pastor or the counselor in the church for bad advice, and they want to come out after you. So they're disgruntled because of that, or a client of some sort. Those are the people that you look for. The last one, of course, is a stranger. Okay? Stranger, that's the hardest one to detect. You just don't know them. You're not really prepared for that. So those are the four kinds of people that come against you. I teach active shooter classes, and these next few slides is what you'll see in that. Okay, this is what I teach to businesses, but it applies here. These slides I'm going to pass over, and I'm going to tell you what's in them. Is that all right? Because I told the pastor I didn't need a lectern up here because I have it all right here. All right? So here's what's on. Somebody comes in, you have an active shooter situation, be able to lock your doors immediately. I'm 4 minutes over time. I know that. I'm working hard. About done. I mean, think about this. A Baptist preacher squeezing 3 hours of stuff into 1 hour's time frame. And you think that God still doesn't work there. You take an active shooter situation, you can actually take down an active shooter. Don't develop a victim's mentality. Don't think just because you were shot that it's over. If somebody shoots me, they better do a good job because it's really going to make me mad otherwise. And that's the mentality you need. It's a fighting mentality. Fight for the lives of those around you that you love. So if someone comes in, they have a rifle, 3 people can take down a shooter very effectively. As soon as he walks into the room, you're prepared for it. You know he's coming. You have 3 people. That's all you need. That's prepared for him. You turn off the lights. Turn up the sound system. Make it squeal like nobody's business. Turn off the lights. Do anything you can to create distraction. Because that's not what they're expecting. They're expecting a crowd full of people to cower down to them and to jump behind the pews and wait to get shot. That's what they're waiting on. You need 3 people. You walk through the door, somebody grabs the barrel of the gun. It's not strength, it's leverage. It's momentum. The weakest person in this room can take a rifle that I'm holding, put 2 fingers on the end of the barrel, and prevent me from raising it up. The smallest person in here can do that. Okay? It's leverage, it's not strength. So you take that barrel, as they come through the door this way, I grab the barrel here, I grab it back here, I go down at a 45 degree, as hard and as fast as I can. As I do that, he's coming down with it because he isn't expecting it. Number 2 man comes in, grabs the legs, squeezes in, he falls. Number 3 secures the weapon, jumps on top of the arm, locks it out with the palm up. Palm down, they can push up. Palm up, they can't. Just like this. That's what you do. Then you got your shooter. The gun will go off in the process, probably. Nah, don't worry about it. Take him down. Do whatever's necessary. Okay? To stop and neutralize the threat. But you can do that. But it takes training. All right? It takes training. Now, let me get past this for a second. Let me get to these pictures. This will give you an idea what I'm talking about. There. All right. See the arms out, palms up, knees and shoulder blades. You've secured this person. Number 3 guy is on the legs. All right? That's how you do it. That's how you can secure them, just like that. All right? And you can lock them up. Now, let me get to something else. Safety family. If you're interested in that, I'll give you a website. Door jamming devices. About 20 bucks. You can buy door jamming devices. You can pre-adjust to any floor surface, put it right against your door. It's impossible for somebody to kick that door in. The door will break before that device gives. Okay? I'll give you a website for that. Church Security and Safety from FEMA has a lot of good information on it. Active shooter, Department of Homeland Security, I'll give you that. If you want a security assessment done, we'll do that for you. Camera, now, I just included this one guy on here for camera systems because I know him, but he's from Lewisburg. There's a lot of other people here in West Virginia that can do that, and you've got people right here in your church that can if you want to install more stuff like that. I'll give you that. This guy here is a retired trooper. He also has a first sergeant that's just retired from our agency. They have a church, actually, that was no longer in use that they've been able to purchase. And they do training, like active shooter stuff for churches within this facility. And it's very helpful. And it's reasonable, price-wise. Everything, as we try to do is, we just want to provide you information. But these guys can give you some training. There's also other training out there. Be aware, a lot of people will train you, but they'll charge you an arm and a leg to do it. Some people will train you just to make a little bit of profit and to cover their expenses. So you understand how business works. Facility security assessments, we'll do them for you. Now, you see Major Vince Deeds with his email address. I need to change that. He is since retired. We'll be retiring very soon. My information's right there. Just contact me and we'll get it done. Okay? May not, I've got 1,400 DHHR employees that I'm trying to plan training for now. So, but we can get to you. We'll get you. We can do, actually probably squeeze you in and out while we're doing some of those other things there. Not necessarily that you need that. I mean, you're well on your way. We can see that already. This is something that we do that I ask you to pray for, is we give Bibles to graduates. And we appreciate your prayers for this as we attempt to do. We have 250 graduates come through the State Police Academy every year. I have an opportunity to share my faith with them, talk with them, put a Bible in their hand. So we appreciate your prayers, because the greatest protection that law enforcement can have is a relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
So pray that we can be able to do that. Now, I hurried through a lot of information. You may have some questions that you want to ask me real quick. And we've been at this now about an hour and 7 minutes. But I just want you to know I'm being very cautious of your time. And I do not want to hold you over. But is there a question that you can ask that I've missed, sir?
If a bad guy comes through that door displaying a firearm,
Yes.
is a sheepdog justified in firing the first shot?
Yes. Yes. Why would he be bringing a firearm into this facility? Any reason? To hurt somebody. What you see on TV, sir, drop the weapon, sir, drop the weapon, sir, drop the weapon, sir, drop the weapon, sir, drop the weapon. No. Teach policemen every day. The man gets out of the car with a weapon, comes at you aggressively, you fire. Do not wait to be shot. Go home with your family. So yes, sir. It's a threat. Okay? Now, keep this in mind. We're in West Virginia. A lot of people have firearms. Never though to bring into a sanctuary. You might be out here in the parking lot, somebody have a weapon in the trunk of their car, and Billy Bob's showing Billy Boy his new rifle in the back of the trunk of the car in the parking lot. You probably wouldn't want to shoot him. Okay? Don't shoot Billy Bob and Billy Joe while they're showing their rifles. Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking this because I care about the pastor. When he shakes that guy's hand and pats him down and finds one, what's he supposed to do?
Help.
I'm calling him.
I'm just kidding.
What did she say?
If he passes and feels a firearm, what does he do? You know, it's that point, of course you continue. You welcome him, and we're glad you're here, and be able to get one of your guys to talk to him before he goes into the sanctuary. Yeah. Talk to him outside. Get him away from the people. But just kind of be real casual about it. Don't even let him know that you know it's there. Yeah. Sir.
You mentioned about creating notices of no firearms, but that also creates an issue. What about a sign that would say no firearms except for authorized personnel?
Yeah, you can do something like that.
And then if someone has a firearm, you can tell them we have a policy that says you can't bring this into our
Right.
perpetually.
Yeah, I would put, if you're going to do something like that, you could say except for authorized personnel and/or law enforcement. That way, because if you have a law enforcement officer that comes to visit your service for whatever reason, you may not know he is, but you want him to feel very comfortable in. I mean, that's who you want to have firearms. So,
Right.
yeah, a lot of people say less law enforcement or authorized personnel. Yeah, be fine with that, sir. Ma'am?
If you're in a church that does not have security,
Yes.
and you're sitting there and someone does come in, what do you recommend for just regular people like us, to do if someone comes? I mean, you mentioned something about hiding under the pews.
Right, that's where the run, hide, fight comes in. If you're just in a service and someone would come in, what do I do? Number one, don't develop a victim's mentality. You want to run if you can. A lot of times when a shooter's already in the room, it may be too late to run. So you do want to hide. Hide is concealment. To get in behind the pew is not really concealment. Okay? So what you're hoping is that not just you, but other people around you will develop a mentality to fight. Unfortunately, these are heavy and they're down. A lot of churches, though, nowadays have chairs instead of the pews. Anything that you can have that could be a weapon. One of the things I didn't talk to you about today is distracting a person. It's called their ODA, O-O-D-A. When a shooter comes into the room, the first thing they're doing is they're observing. Then they're orienting themselves to the room. Then they are deciding on where the target is. Then they're going to shoot. It takes about 2 seconds for that to happen. What you want is for people in the room to be able to have the same mindset as soon as he comes in, is to start throwing, fighting, charging, doing whatever you can to that guy. what is happening is people are just hiding and never taking action. And if you just hide, what's going to happen? You're going to get shot. So people need to fight. It's like the guy on the airplane in 9/11 that said, let's roll. Okay? Someone may be sacrificed, but a lot of lives will be saved.
I carry pepper spray. Would that be detrimental or would it be helpful?
If you can be close enough to a person to engage him, yes, but also understand that when that is utilized, it will affect everyone else in that immediate vicinity. I've gargled so much of it over the years, I think I'm almost immune to it. But it ain't good stuff. It's when dishwashing detergent and warm water feels better in your eyes than that stuff. You know that's bad stuff. Man.
There are people that would be trained to use this mobile gun. What about if there are other members who carry one but have not had any training? Should they not be listed with the trustees if they're carrying something?
Well, I would strongly advise that if you don't have any training, you not carry a firearm.
I mean, somebody might.
Uh,
Somebody might carry one that has no training. Should the trustees have a list of people?
Well, I think you should know who all has a firearm in your building. I think that would be a good thing, yes. But again, I strongly encourage that you don't have one unless you have training. And if you do have training and you do have one, then this next thing I'm going to say is probably a known thing to you, but believe me, I get asked, should we have it loaded? All right, Barney. Is that bullet out of your pocket and in that gun? Does your sprinkler system have water? Yes. Okay. Any other questions? And there may be some things that you have questions on later that someone, feel free to call me, ask me anytime. I'll do everything I can to help you. Shoot me an email. I'll send you everything I got. That'll help you. And then we'll go from here. I love to spend more time with you, but I know your time is valuable. And of course, I'm heading back for service tonight as well. But thank you for having me today. Thank you for giving me a few minutes this afternoon to talk to you. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the meal. It was wonderful. And I'll thank my wife for putting up with me all the way on. So, God bless you, Pastor.
Well, CJ said that we have the PA system squalling under control, okay, so we got that. I want you to look real closely, not at the clock, but to the my left, you're right at the clock. You see that right there? That is a security camera. There are 16 of them around this building. We are trying to do our best to protect you, and I don't think there is anybody who would be better in the life of this church to have done what he did than Sergeant, I want to call you Corporal, but I still don't want to do that. But Sergeant, we appreciate that very much. And I want to tell you this, we are really just trying to do diligence. And the Bible tells us to do everything with our might. Matter of fact, I tell you how much we're progressing at this church. Brother David Jones used PowerPoint this morning in Sunday school. I'm not kidding you, he really did. That's how much we're progressing at this church. But anyway, we really appreciate that. The board members will follow up with more details, but under Warney's watch, when he was the chairman of our trustees, we added cameras. Some of you know this, some of you don't, but at one point, our vans, when we had 4 vehicles, they were vandalized by somebody with a cordless drill, drilling into the gas tank of all 4 vehicles. And so now, at least if they do that, they're on camera. But anyhow, we're just trying to protect it. So I hope that was helpful to you, just trying to protect God's faithful. So with that said, Brother Mitchell, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Let's stand our feet. As you leave, there will be somebody at the door receiving an offering. We just want to help him with his expenses and appreciate all the ministry and work he's done. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this time of fellowship and just, Lord, just consciously wanting to protect our own. Lord, it's a biblical thing. You showed it both in the Old Testament and the New as well. I pray, Lord, that you would help us to just diligently protect our little ones and those to whom you've trusted us. And we faithfully praise you in Jesus' name.